Hello, everyone. Are you in? Okay, hello, everyone. Welcome to today's tutorial. So today we're going to be talking about functions and files. Basically, this is probably like a very narrow scope of what it is that we're going to be doing, but I think we're going to be using task 25, which is basically encompasses a whole lot of different concepts in programming. So we're just going to be touching on functions. We're going to be touching on files. We're going to be touching on a whole lot of for us to be able to build much more, at least powerful programs in some ways. So today we will start maybe our tutorial on functions, right? So basically, maybe some of you, how you've been writing programs up until so far, you've been like writing a whole thing. It's just like a slab of code where there was not a whole lot of like organization. So thus Python allows us to be able to use functions in order to better structure our code, but also to avoid doing unnecessary calculations when we don't need to be doing them, right? In Python, what is a function? So you could just basically just think of a function as just like a collection of code that performs a specific task, right? I could have like a function to calculate the sum. I could have a function to do an average. I could do a function to do a whole lot of things, right? So one of the things that you have about functions is that they are useful when you're trying to organize your code, as I said. And then one of the principles that govern most functions is that this thing called the dry principle. So the dry principle basically just means that you must never repeat yourself. Like, let's say you're writing a function to calculate the sum. That function must only perform the specific task of having to calculate the sum of maybe a different kind of elements. So if we have just one function that calculates the sum, that does the average, that does the minimums and everything else, then it violates this principle of just having us not to be repeating ourselves. So this also leads me to the one other option, which is called like a solid principle. So a solid principle just means exactly that each and every function has to perform exactly one task. So those are some of the advantages of us having to use functions, is that they allow us to do code reuse. They allow us to maintain our code a little bit better. They allow us to provide structure to our programs. So now I'm just going to dive in to show you the syntax on how you are able to define functions in Python, right? Cool. Let's maybe start with like a very rough thing that we could do. Let me just share my screen with you guys. Enable screening. Okay, yeah, I'm just sharing a screen with you guys. Then after that, I'm going to show you some code on how we can be able to just maybe just better organize our programs. Okay, cool. So I have confirmation that if you guys can be able to see the screen. Are you guys able to see the screen now? Okay, cool. All right, it's still sharing. Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, yeah, we're just enabling screen sharing. All right, cool. So what I have now, I just have like a normal Python shell. So you guys I see a thing, and we'll discuss the issue around IDEs maybe just after this thing. So now I'm just gonna open like a random new file. So I'm just gonna do like a very, even begin to talk about task 25. I'm gonna do like a very basic thing. Let's say we wanted to calculate. Let's say we wanted to get a user to be able to enter certain numbers, and then we wanted to calculate the average for that. So the first thing that I would need to do is that I need to get the number from a user, right? So I could just say integer, then I could just say input, then I could say enter a number. Then once that is done, then let's say for an example, I only want to stop when a user enters like a -1, then I want it to stop and then just print out the average, right? So my -1 will be the stopping point, but you're free to use in any case. You could use like an empty string. You could use whatever string you want. You could use whatever number you want. So I'm just going to say if number is not equal to -1, then here I need to get my variables. I could just define the total. Then the total will be 0. Then I could define the average as well. Then I define the average to be 0. Okay, I'm getting feedback that it's not showing. All right, cool. Okay, we're just trying to share the screen with you so that you can be able to just see what's happening. Okay, cool. Can you just confirm that you are able to see now? It looks like we are back online. Sorry about that. Cool. So what we have is that I'm just reading a number. Then I have this total. Then I just have this average, right? So basically, what I can do is that I could just say every time while this number is not equal to this, then you could just add the number to this total, right? Then we can just add this number to total. Then once that is done, then we also need, for an average, you need to be able to know how many numbers do we have, right? So we need to keep track of how many stuff, the numbers that the user would enter. For an example, let's say I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or then I need to be able to count the number of stuff that I have. So because the average is usually calculated by the total divided by the count, the number of stuff that you have. So I just need to then, every time, I can just increment the total to be this, right? Then when I'm done, then I need to just ask the user to be able to then enter the number again, right? So that the thing keeps looping and keep looping until we are able to then, a user presses -1 and then it's just gonna kick outside of the loop. And once that is done, then I could just simply just print your average is something, right? Then we can just calculate the average quickly there. We have assigned it to 0. So now, because we have the numbers, then we can just say it's that divided by the count. So you could also do a whole lot of things. Then you could just do this one and then just do format. Then you can just pass in the average there. And then you could do that. And then this would just print the average is something. Cool. Then I'm just going to run this. It's going to ask me to save. I'm just going to call this exercise fun something. Cool. Then it's just going to say enter a number. Then I'm going to enter a 2. Can you just confirm with me if you're able to see that? Then I'm going to enter a 2. Then I'm going to enter 2. Then I'm going to enter another 2. Then I'm going to enter -1. Then it's going to kick out. Then it's going to tell me the average is 2, right? So I'm getting a question that why do I have to use this braces? So, okay, cool. Let's do that. Okay. Screen issues. Can you just confirm? Is it back on? I think. Yeah, it should be back. It's not the output. Okay, cool. No, that's fine. So did you guys see the output that it was 6, right? No, it was 2 because we had like 2, 4, 6, and then divided by 3, then we got 2 as an average. So I'm getting a question to say, why are you using the braces? So the braces, just we're using this format function, right? So the braces here, it's called the placeholder, and then this thing is called the value, right? So what's going to happen is that the format function will take in whatever parameter, whatever variable that you pass to this function, which is the average, and then it's going to convert it into a string, and then it's just going to place it in this placeholders. So it's just going to like slot it in there so that when the next time when you run it, you will get like your average is 2 point something instead of the braces. So you could imagine the braces as just like some kind of a placeholder for all the variables that you're passing through the format function. Cool. Yeah. So then if I could do the very same thing, as you could see that there's no way, let's say supposedly I just wanted to like just only get the total from this or just get the count or get maybe just only the average, then I have like all of this program that is written. Maybe this is also like a very small program to show this, but you could also like organize this into functions, right? So what we can do is that in Python, it allows us to do this define keyword that allows us to be able to define certain functions. So whenever you see this thing called defining, then it means we're just defining a function. So whatever comes after that, it would be the name of the function. So what happens is that we could just say total. Then maybe this total could just take in, let's say, I just want to just maybe like pass in maybe data. So this data, I'm just going to pass it as just like an array of stuff, right? And if I wanted to calculate the total for this, then I could just have, now I'm just running out of words to call it. What should we call this? Because sum is just the keyword also. Okay, cool. I'm just going to call it summation. No, we can't call it stuff. we need proper naming. So I'm just gonna call it like a summation of stuff, and then I'm just gonna declare that to be a 0. Then you could imagine for this data, I'm just gonna be passing an array. Then what I'm gonna do is that I'm just gonna say for an element, then I'm gonna iterate this for an element in data, right? Then I'm just gonna say summation that it's like the same concept that we've done, and then we're just gonna do that. Cool. So this thing, I'm just gonna be passing like some kind of a list to this function called total, right? And then once the summation is, you could imagine it as just computing the sum, and then I'm just gonna go over this list, then I'm gonna add each and every element in that list to this summation. It's the same thing that I did there. It's just that I'm just organizing it into some kind of a function, right? Then once I've done that, like with functions, it allows us to be able to get the value of whatever it is that we're computing within that function. And then the keyword that allows us to be able to do that in functions in Python, it's called return. So I'm just going to say return this summation thing, right? Cool. Then what's the other thing that I need? As I said, this is like a very small program for stuff, but I'm just going to say count. Then I'm just going to pass in data as well. But it's always best to start small for some of these things just to see the concept. So with this count, I'm just going to return. I'm also going to pass in a list, right? Then I need to get the number of elements that are contained in that list, right? So that I could just do the summation divided by the count. Then I'm just going to get my average, right? So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to return the length of data. Cool. So if I have, let's say, if I have a list that looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like this, the length of data that I'm going to be passing maybe to this one, then the length of this thing would return 5 because I have 5 elements in there. So that's what I'm returning with this count function. Cool. Great. Then the last piece, then I have my total, then I have my count. I need to calculate the average now, right? So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to define this thing. Then I'm going to do average. Then I'm going to pass in data. Then I'm going to say return what is that? That is the total. On total, I'm just passing data, right? Then I'm returning this divide by the count. Then the count, I'm just passing the same data. Cool. Then this average would then return the actual average that we want, the sum divided by that, right? So what I'm gonna do is just, I'm gonna comment this thing out so that our programs are a little bit more, we could see who's who, who's what, right? This was the first, when we just did everything without organizing. And then this is the second part where we just approach the very same exercise, but differently, right? So then now it comes to the other stage that I have to work on, is that I now need to calculate the average. So how do I do that? So now we've defined all of the functions that we need for us to be able to calculate an average of a certain kind of list that we're going to be passing to our data, right? But what we have done is that we haven't like this thing called like invoking or calling a function. So all of these things are just returning values to us, but we just have to make them now execute to do the actual work, you know? It's like if you maybe have, let's say you've run a program, like how we've run a program like that, and then you need to just click on run and then do some other things. So you have to do the same thing with functions. If you just define them, they just return this abstract values that are just sitting there in the background, but we just want to also like give data to our logic so that we can get something much more useful. So this whole, it's like this whole notion of just like calling a function, or sometimes they call it invoking a function, that kind of a thing. So now, what is it that I'm interested in? So I'm interested in finding out the average, right? So what I could do is that I could just say average, and I said I'll pass in the data. So let's say maybe I just wanted to find the average of 222. You could pass in a long list if you have the energy one. If you have that energy, it's fine. You can pass in whatever long, play around with it, you'll be fine. So I'm just gonna pass with this one. And then because this thing is also like retaining something, so then now I need to print whatever it is that the average function is doing, right? So then now I'm gonna run this. Then we should get 246. Okay, cool. Then it's not showing again. Then I will just reactivate it. This will be one of the things that would have to stomach just for today, but otherwise we'll be fine, right? So as you can see now that when I've run that function, then I got this 2, right? This was from the previous exercise when I had like 222, then -1. Now the average is like 2.0, and I'm still getting the same thing, right? Cool. Then I'm just gonna go back to my original screen. So where's my file, my beautiful file? Okay, cool. So what is this thing? Okay, now, like when I started my presentation, I started like very abstract about talking about certain kinds of things that necessarily didn't maybe make sense to you, right? When I was saying you could like reuse functions, when I was saying that it allows this thing of like a dry thing that don't repeat yourself, the solid thing around you be able to call things many times. The advantage of writing your code like this, like let's say I was just interested in just knowing the total, right? It's the total of a certain kind of an array. It's like very easy. I could just like copy this. I could just paste that. And I could just call the total, right? So this thing will just give me 6 because then I'm calling the function that calculates the total based on the data that I'm giving, right? So this thing, then when it allows the flexibility of this is that maybe let's say in some foreseeable future, you maybe like want to then reuse some of the functions that you've written in other files. You can just like simply import them and then just like having to just, and then just call it without having to rewrite it again. So this is one of those flexibilities around like functions. Can you also like notice that there's no way of just me being able to just like easily retrieve the total from the first exercise, because like everything is just lumped in together as just one program. So I'm not able to just pick out the things that I need in this thing, right? So this, when I was saying about functions that they give us a much more better way of structuring our code, this is exactly the kind of thing that I was just talking about. Like you are able to just like logically organize your code. Like also in terms of readability, it's easy. Like if I were to just open this file, I would like, okay, cool. Then I have this thing that calculates the total. Then it's going to retain the summation of whatever the total of that. Then I have this thing that takes in the count. Then it's going to return the count. Then I have this thing that calculates the average. So it's organized very well, that everything is just calling something else that has already been done before. So the logically wise, it's also much more easier to read. It's not integrate. What is the word? Intricate. That's the word. So it's not that difficult. So I must stay away from big words, because it's a challenge. so the thing I'm saying is that it's quite easy to do that. So some of these things, yeah, we'll discuss like object-oriented things maybe a bit later on. So some of the things that we've been like doing now, I always tell people that the whole point of writing code, I know like many people get some kind of like some intellectual stimulation when they write something difficult, and then other people don't necessarily understand. But the whole point around writing code is to make things easy for people. If you've written code and it's incredibly difficult for people to read, then it is bad code. It doesn't matter how abstract or convoluted it is. If I were to read something like you, it needs to make easy for me. The whole point of writing code is to make things as easy as possible. Write it as if you're explaining it to a child. I know most people would like to do other things, matrix things and spinning and what. But the whole point is to just make things easy. If code is difficult to read, then one of the things that I say that is not because of that's my philosophical standpoint. It's that whenever you're going to be going into the workplace or not, you're going to be working with people, right? And certain people would rely on your code for them to be able to do perform certain features. Maybe let's say you're a software engineer or whatever, right? It's not beneficial to you or the team for somebody to read your code and then takes them like 2 weeks or something for them to understand what the hell it is that you were saying in that, or maybe come to you again and then ask you like what it is that you were saying here when you wrote this line. So you rather make it simple so that when they read it, they can just quickly move and then do something like that, right? Even if the whole point about it's not like whether it works or not, but it's about making things easy for people. That's the whole thing around, even the buzz around artificial intelligence, right? Make things easy for people. Cool. That's our motto now, make things easy. So every time you write code, think about what it is about this thing that I could make it a whole lot easier than that. Cool. So for now, then I want to, because this thing was supposed to last for an hour, then I went in with my rant. We're 30 minutes in. But for this, then I want to then share with you the exercise. I hope you guys, maybe you can just also open it on your machines. Please confirm with me if you can see the PDF. No, you can't see that. So let me just enable my screen things. Cool. Great. I'm pretty sure you can see that one now, right? Cool. So this point, it's this thing about like biometrics, DNA sequencing, a whole lot of complicated things that I'm just going to skip, right? So it says we have to go to this website. So I'm just gonna copy paste that. And I'm just gonna paste this there. Okay, cool. Then I would okay, I'm back on my screen now. So we have to do this thing. So we have like all of this, maybe just to give you like a rundown of the exercise that you're gonna be doing. It's a little bit long, but we'll manage. It's not a exercise. It says we must write this thing. I would leave that one to you. It says we must write a function that translates given a DNA sequence of arbitrary length. The program sequence of that table, right? So if somebody were to enter ATT, then we need to print out I, right? So all of those things, we can be able to find them on this particular website, on like which the internet as well. Yeah. All right, cool. Is it back on now? Okay, cool. Are you guys able to see? Let's see. Enable screen sharing. All of that. Okay. Yeah. What is that? Okay, let's disable this, right? Let's disable this, right? All right, cool. Okay, cool. Then is everything back on? Okay, great. All right, cool. So yeah, so what are you gonna be doing now? So we need to find the codes maps to all of the stuff that I was just talking about. Maybe just to give you guys a rundown of also what it is that we're going to be doing, right? It seems as though the website which was providing the codes is down for some reason. Okay, cool. Cool. The image is now back on. Cool. That's great. So what we're going to be doing then now is that we need to find like all the sequence for all of these things. But the websites that we are given, I think it's temporarily down or something like that. So we have to make other means of us trying to do so. Cool. So what we will do then, I'm just going to go to some table. So for the purpose of maybe like of our task, then we're going to be just doing or not a big, we'll just probably like map around like 5 or so, just to make sure that things work, and then we'll just maybe leave the rest to you. The screen, okay, just this thing is going down like hectic. Oh, I think it's also down this side. Is it the internet? Oh, it's quite hectic, yeah? All right, cool. Guys, sorry about that. Yeah, we have line issues. So what is that I'm going to share a screen of all the DNA I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to share that. All right. Can you see that? Okay, let me just take this one out. Then, okay, it seems like our connection is strong now. So we will share this one. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, it looks like the network is going down also. Okay, cool. We are back. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully this is the last time something like this is happening. So I was just saying, what I was just picking up is that we now I'm just going to show you like a sequence of all the amino acids that we can be able to use to map to certain Woolworths things popping up there. So I have this one. Remember the isoleucine? That's the symbol. I have no knowledge in biology or something. All I just know is how to code. What we're interested in is this guys and this guys. The other things that are beyond us. So what I'm gonna do is that anything that TT or ATC or ATA, it's mapped to I, right? Anything that is mapped to this one, it's mapped to L, right? So what I'm just gonna do is just I'm gonna just copy paste this just to avoid switching to a whole lot of different pages. So I'm just gonna copy this, then we'll go back to our Python programs so that we are able to then start doing our coding. Then I'm gonna go back to my exercise, which we call fun for some reason. So then I'm back to my fun, right? Then you can see there. So I hope you guys maybe took down of all of this, because with this, I was just demonstrating the use of files and all of those things. So I'm just gonna delete this guy there, right? Is that cool? Any takers? Yes. Okay, cool. We'll just delete it. That's da-da-da. So I'm just gonna then print out some of these things. Then I have like all of those funny things. So what we know is that, okay, I'm just gonna get rid of that. Then I'm just gonna get rid of this thing here, right? So I'm just gonna map for this too, for the sake of time and other things. So what I'm gonna do, anything that is mapped to I, anything that is mapped to ATT or ATC or ATA, then we need to show the amino equivalence of I, right? Anything that is mapped to this and is mapped to this one, then I need to show this is the vibe, right? So what I'm going to do then now, I have like all of these things, I think they call them codons or something, right? So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna create a dictionary. So this is like a classical dictionary problem, right? So you have like certain keys which are mapped to certain kinds of values, right? So instead of putting AT&T, we need to replace it by an I. Instead of putting ATC, then we need to replace it by an I. We need to replace it with that kind of a thing, right? You're confused about that. I'm also confused about the medical terms of this. All I know is that that's what they call them. So then we have this thing like an ATT, right? Then we're saying it's mapped to a specific value, I, right? So every time I go over my string, then I need to replace ATT by I. That's what it says, right? So then I'm gonna do another one, ATC. I'm getting these values from the things that we copy pasted, like ATC, then it's mapped to I. Then that's where I'm getting all of these values from. Cool, let's see that. Right. Then I'm getting, then the last one, it's ATA, and it's mapped to I as well. Cool. Then comma, then just for the sake of readability, I'm gonna put it on a new line, this one, CT. Then it's an I as well. Then the other one, it's CTC, right? Then that's not an I, it's an L. You guys need to correct these. That's an L, right? No, there's an L. That's the stuff that you copied from there, and then this is an L, then that's an I. Cool. Then we'll copy then I'm gonna repeat, delete all those not nice looking stuff up there, because that is not code. It's just that now we have to maneuver certain technical issues, but I'm pretty sure if someone were to open and then they were to see something like this, they'll start screaming like, what is that? It's fine. So then CTG. Okay, this is now becoming like it's just the same thing. So I'm just gonna stop here. Cool. Then that's the last one, right? So I'm just gonna get rid of all of these things, right? Just to give you a refresher, let me just show you where I'm getting these values from. I'm getting these values from this application. I'm getting them from there. That's where I'm getting them from. the Woolworths vibe. Have there. So this thing, then it's mapped to a whole lot of these things, like AT&T, it's mapped to I, then CTT, then it's mapped to this thing, right? So now we can begin to think about. Okay, cool. We back on the thing again. Now go back. The question. PDF. Where is my PDF? All right. Let me just pull my PDF. No problem. Is it coming out? Cool. Okay, cool. Yeah. I think now we are good. So let me just share screen vibes with you. So we'll do that. Cool. Then the question was saying we should write this function called translate that translates a particular DNA sequence into its amino acid, right? Amino acid just wants us to then do this thing. So then I said we have a dictionary that makes this problem a whole lot easier for us. So then if I have this sequence, then I know that each and every sequence, ideally, it's supposed to be multiples of 3, right? So each time I need to go over the string in multiples of 3, whatever string it is, it doesn't matter whatever it is, multiples of 3, then in the event that the string is not multiples of 3, then I need to have a way on how we can be able to handle that, right? So for now, we will start with a situation where the string, or the length of the string is divisible by 3, like it's multiples of 3. Then we'll do handling stuff. It's all part of the same program. So what we'll then do, we can say for I in range. So I'm just going to use a loop now. So I'm going to start from 0 because in indexing, in each and every string, indexing always starts from 0, right? This is maybe counterintuitive for other people. If you're a mathematician, makes perfect sense for you. Usually how they count, they always count from 0. So people from maths and computer science, sometimes we're very close to each other. Sometimes we fight, but it's love. So then we'll take of the sequence. Then we take the length of this sequence, right? Then we take the length of the sequence. Then I need to go in steps of 3. Cool, right? Then I have this thing, right? Y for I in range. Okay, cool. I in range, what for I in range is, let me just go to show you what for I in range just means here without doing anything. So if they range 5, right? This thing, it's a Python. This range is a Python function that would allow you to give the range from the starting point to some kind of an ending point, right? So if I say range 5 at the back of the Python program, so it's gonna give you a range of 0, 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, right? And remember, because you always start from 0, so then you have how many items? You have 5 items. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's you have 5 stuff. So that's why you're telling it to do so. So you could also tell it to start at 1, then you'll get like 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, in Python, usually even the last item is always excluded, right? It's excluded not because by decision, but it's excluded simply because you always start counting from 0, right? So if you want a range from 5 items from 0 to 5, then it makes sense that you want 5 things. Then it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we're to do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then it's no longer 5 items, it's 6 items. What I mean by that is that if I had something like this, right, I want to get the range of 5 that, then you would get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And this is how many stuff? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's why that kind of thing, it ends up just the first item is because of this thing. So that's the reason why we use range. But I'm using this range in this particular instance because I want to iterate the string in multiples in steps of 3. Like usually when you do this thing, if I were to tell it go from 1, then the 1, or maybe just say, let me just say start from 0, range, start from 0, right? End at 10, right? Go in steps of 2. So what this one means is that you're giving it a start position, you're telling it where to start, and then the second, for the rend function, you say, I'm giving you the end, where you must end. So what this would do, it will go from like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Because 10 is always excluded, right? Then the third parameter, it just means steps. As you can see, I have this thing popping up on my thing. It says range, start, stop, step. Can you see that? The thing that pops up? Okay, you can see that. Okay, cool. But you can see when it says from 0 to 10 to 2, this is what would happen, right? So when I'm saying start from 0 to 10 in steps of 2, what I'll get 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 8. Because I can't say 10 because 10 is excluded, right? The last number is always excluded. So I'm going to get 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. So I'm giving it to then move in steps of 2. If I want to say move in steps of 3, what you do is just you add 3 to 0, then you get 0, 3, right? Then from 3, add another 3, then you get 6. Then 6, you get 9, right? Then you get 0, then you get 3, then you get 6, then you get 9. Then that's the range in steps of 3, right? So that's what I'm doing here. I'm iterating that the sequence that I'm going to be receiving over this function, like in multiples of 3, by steps of 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, to check if there's anything within that string that matches this. Cool. All right, great. That is what the range is all about. Cool. Then what I want to do now, I could just say code equals I could say code equals sequence, right? And then I could just say sequence start from I. So every time also I need to get it in slices of 3 things, right? So every time I need to go, if let's say I was looking at from 0, right? I need to look at I will need to slice it from 0 to 3, right? But slicing it from 0 to 3, remember, it will do 0, 1, and 2. So I would have 3 items, right? Because the last one is always excluded, right? If I was at position, let's say 4, then you add 3 to it, then we'll do 4, 5, 6, and then it wouldn't do 7, right? Because it's excluded. And then you always guaranteed that you're going to iterate whatever string in multiples of 3. You slice it into 3 chunks so that you could get to check if the codes that we have in there are actually that kind of a thing, right? Cool. Then the next thing that I also need is that I need to input the string representation of whatever it is that I'm gonna be feeding into my translate sequence, right? So what I'm gonna say, I'm gonna have a translated, this called just an empty string. So what I'm gonna be using this empty string is that I'm gonna check if this code is contained in there. If it is contained in there, then I'm gonna get the value that is associated with this code. Then I'm gonna add it to this translated. If not, then I'm just gonna put in X just to demonstrate that I didn't find it. We're just only doing for 2, but you can always expand this code for more keys. So here comes the fun part. Then we could say if code in. So this will check if this thing it's in there, right? So this one will check. This thing is called I'm checking whether this represents a key. Remember, a dictionary works on a key value, right? There's a key value, right? So I have a key that is mapped to a particular value, right? I have this key ATT that is mapped to this value I, right? I have this key CTC that is mapped this value L, right? So in this instance, when I say if code in codants, I'm saying if this key it's in, we check all the keys in there. If it's in there, then we need to replace whatever that key translated. We just add something to it, right? Cool. So if it is in there, then I need to say translated. Then I need to add. I need to just add. What's this? Codons. Then I need to fetch the value that is associated with that. Cool. Does this make sense? Cool. Then I need to fetch the value that is mapped to this code, right? Then once I have that, then I could just add to this thing, right? Else I could just say else. If I can't find it, maybe it's lost somewhere. We don't know what happened to it. We can just add an X to represent that. Hey, sorry, Chief, we didn't find your thing there. Your thing is missing. So then I'm gonna try to then run this program, right? So let's see. So I can get a sequence from a user, but I'm just gonna call it using my own sequence. So I'm just gonna say print. Oh my God, yo, look at that. That's nice. So print. So what I'm gonna do, then I'm gonna say print, translate, right? Let me just share the. I want to test it using the provided string. Cool, right? Do you see it now? So we've given ATT, right? So I'm just gonna copy this one. Then I'm just gonna use that to test it. Let me go back to my program. There we go. We are there, right? So I'm just gonna come there and I'm just gonna paste this, right? And I'm just gonna do this and I'm gonna run this just to see if I get I. Let's see. Yeah, let me just share the screens with you. Yeah, just trying to share screen. Internet down. Okay, cool. Reconnect quickly. We're almost done. We're almost done. Almost. Sorry about that. We're almost at the end of our thing. Almost there. Almost there. Almost there. So what we will do then now, so just to give you guys a refresher of what it is that I was just doing before we had technical issues this side. So what we were doing is that we did this kind of cool. Then we said we have this codons, right? And then we said those of you who understand biochemistry, maybe please provide us with a free lesson. Then when we said we could write this translate thing, right? That takes in a particular sequence, right? Then we have this thing called translated that we're going to be using as some kind of an accumulator for us to be able to get all the codes that are contained in our codons. Then I would say for I in range, because I need to go in steps of 3. Then I would say code in the sequence. Then I would just keep on slicing it by 3. Then I need to check if code is in codons, then translate it. Then I just pull in the string, the value that is associated to that key in the dictionary. Then else, if I can't find it, then I'll just put an X, right? Then I'd say then we have to test it out with this one. Remember, the output that we're expecting is I. It's 3I, isoleucine. That's our vibe. That's our vibe. So I'm just gonna run this now. Yeah, and then let me just share the screen with you. There you have it. Boom. Then we get our 3 I's, right? I. That was the outputs that we were expecting. Can you guys see that? Is it cool? Can we see that? Cool. Then we have I. So we have managed with a degree. We have managed. Can you hear me now? We have managed to at least complete the first part of. We should be back. Am I still breaking or am I nice and smooth now? Not yet. Are we okay now? Can everybody hear me? Are we nice and smooth now? Is it still breaking up? Okay, cool. Let's just keep it for 5 minutes or so. We almost there. We almost there. So what I'm gonna share with you the screen where we do those guys, because they said we must also grant it that the string will be in multiples of 3, right? So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to replace one ATT, and I'm just going to put in a Z there, or I'm just going to put in maybe like, let me just put a baby A, right? Because that's something that we don't have in our thing, right? So as soon as I put a baby A there, that's our baby there. So as soon as we do this one, then I'm going to run this, and then I'm expecting to say IIX. That's what I'm expecting. That's the value that I'm expecting. So I'm going to run this. Let me just share the output with you. That's the one. Almost there. There we go, right? Then that's IIX, right? So in the event that we couldn't find something, it was replaced by an X. So yeah, we will address you. We will address you, IDE. All right. So what I wanted to show you is that, because even if I were to do this, even if I were to give it an even number of, even if I were to give it something that is not divisible by 3, right? Replace this by an I, or replace this by an I, then it wouldn't find this, and it's just going to put an X, right? Because of in Python lists, it allows you to have dynamic. What lists is that it's mutable. So even if I were to say do a list from 0 to 1,000,000, it will never throw me an error. It would go up until to the point where the end of that list or that end of a string, and it will just give me back that string, right? Let me just demo this important thing before before I demonstrate what it is. Yeah, mutable just means that it's change. It's strings. It's change. You can change the size of it. You can decrease the size of it. You could chop it in half and do all of those kinds of things. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to demonstrate this thing around when we say we must not assume that things are multiples of 3. So I'm just going to do a string, and then I'm going to index something that is completely outside of that. Okay, cool. Let me just share the link. I'll share the link with you just now. I'll share the link. Okay, when I type in there, it say something nice. Hopefully this is nice. Those are, you'd find that nice. What I'm gonna do, demonstrate this thing that Python things are odd. Cool. So what I'm gonna do is just, I'm gonna share with you my shell. Then I'm gonna do something completely unthinkable. I don't know the word that I could do. So I'm going to use, confirm with me if you can see my shell now, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm saying going to name, then I'm just going to say my name. My name is Tabang, once I have that, right? So if I were to slice Tabang from let's say 1 and until 3, right? What I'm going to get is 0, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to get H, A, 0, 1, then 2. Yeah. Then I'm going to get ha. Ha. So that's what I'm going to get, right? But check this. Then I wanted to do this thing with you. Check this. So if I were to do name, then I'm saying start from 1 still, right? But end from this number. I don't even know what that number is, right? Cool. Then check this. Then it's going to give me this thing. It would never throw an error that I can't find this billion what. Because of this Python, it will just check from where you start, and it will just give you up until the rest of whatever the string ends. Cool. So that question around expecting things to be divisible by 3, it's a non-question in some ways, because automatically Python will be able to handle it for you. But if you did something like this in Java, those who have experience with strongly typed languages, what it means strongly typed languages means if you cannot find something, it's going to complain. Things it's going to complain a whole lot. So but when you do like the second level of software engineering, you will get to see some of these things. So Python, it's nice, it's flexible, just like that. So let's now go back to the point where we were, just to show you that even when things are not divisible by 3, it would still work. But because the question is asking us to solve it, we will just solve it anyway, even though things won't work, right? So remember we said we had ATT, right? ATT, ATT, ATT. Then we got I, right? So now I am just going to just eliminate one of these things so that things are not multiples of 3. Then I'm still expecting IXX. Cool. Then let me just run this, and then I'll show you the output. There we go. Let me just show you the output quickly. There we go. Let me show you. That's a show. There we go. Cool. Yeah, that's the thing. So it still works even when it's like IXXX. So it's still the same thing, whether it's divisible by 3 or whatever, right? So, but because the question is saying we must not take it for granted that this thing is divisible by 3, so we'll just handle it anyway, right? We'll just handle it anyway. So what I'm going to do is that then I could just say, I could define another function. Then I could say this is translate, right? Then maybe let's say translate, what should I call it? Translate, let's say 3 or something. I don't know. Maybe just, let me just say translate X. Something like that, to translate X, right? It does the same thing. It takes in the sequence, right? You can't see the screen. Okay, go. Let me just share with you. Cool. Then we can see our screen, right? Our screen is there, right? So what I'm gonna do now, I'm just gonna do translate X. Those who knows movies, it's those things, X and other things that I don't know and I don't understand. Okay, cool. Can you still see the screen? No, I don't think. Let me just do it again. Share that. There we go. We're good now, right? Cool. So I'm just gonna share the screen with you now. So now you have this thing. I'm just gonna have another function. So I'm gonna say this. I'm just gonna call it translate X. So it's like generation X translate. It's like a better version of this, like in 20 years time when all of us are AI powered. I didn't say that. So what I'm gonna do is that while I'm gonna do this, right? Then I'm gonna take this sequence, right? Python 2000. Okay, cool. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna take this thing and I'm gonna say if the length of the sequence right? Then if I were to take the modulus of this thing, right? Remember when you take the modulus of something, it's like if I were to say 10 modulus of 3, then it means if 3 goes into 10, what would be my remainder, right? So if 3 were to go into 10, then I'll get like 3 goes into 10, how many times? 3 times, right? What's the remainder? The remainder is 1. That's the modulus. It gives you the remainder of something. So, right? So when I divide anything by 3, I could either get 1, right? When something, as an example, when I gave with 10, right? So I could say if this thing divisible by, let me just even handle this thing. Let's say if the modulus of this thing, if the remainder, this handles all of those things. If this thing is divisible by 3, it's not equal to 0. If the remainder is not equal to 0, this means this string, it cannot be multiples of that, right? So then this means that somewhere at the end of this string, there's either, as I showed previously, so there's either something that has at least, that has two characters, right? Which are not 3, just 2 characters. Or I have a situation where I have just one letter at the end of this string that is sitting just like that, right? Cool. Does it make sense? So if that is the case, then I need to know. That's why I was saying if I were to say equal to 1, right? In the instance where it's equal to 1, then it means I have this one character at the end that is sitting alone, right? So what I want to do then, I want to then redefine, then I want to slice my sequence to say, okay, maybe just not to confuse you, let me just say sequence something, call it something else, but not to redefine things. So what I can do is that I could say, okay, cool, take this thing and then sequence this. It's from 0, obviously, we slice from 0, right, until the length of the actual sequence, right? So this thing will give me the whole sequence, like the whole thing, right? But I just want to eliminate that one at the end. So I'm just gonna say -1. So then I'm gonna do this. So this thing will make sure that in the event that I have this character sitting at the end, I want to exclude it from the actual sequence so that my sequence is multiples of 3, right? So what I'm gonna do is the same process. Then I would say amino acid things. If I'm misrepresenting you and you're a biochemist, please call me into order. That's amino acid. That's amino acids, right? That's the thing. So what I'm gonna then do, then I'm gonna call, then because I've eliminated that one character at the end, right? I've eliminated that one character at the end, then I can call the translate function, this one, that assumes that everything is perfect. I've made it perfect now. Cool. Then I'm just gonna say this one equals the translate, then I'm gonna give it this smaller sequence, right? So then this one would just then add everything and then reassign it to this string, right? So this string then will be reassigned to this thing, right? So then at the end of this thing, if this is, then now I've already done that, right? So now what I can do is that I could also say amino acid, check amino acid, then I could just say plus X. So I've removed that one last character at the end, right? But I also need to then say I've removed something, because you don't remove something without having to account for them. So I've removed it, then in place of it, I'm just gonna replace it by an X at the end. Cool. Then I can just copy paste this, is the same thing. Then I could just have the same, let me just copy paste that, 1, 2, 3, 4, that. Cool. Everything is aligned, right? Then in the instance where it's 2, I also want to do the same thing. I want to cut those last 2 characters at the end. Then I just do the same thing. Then I just replace it by, it has to be elif, right? Else if the 2, so if there's one character at the end, I want to cut it out and replace it by an X. If there's those last 2 characters at the end, I want to cut them out and then replace them by an X after everything. So then if I were to run this, it will just give us the same thing. So let me just say X, then ATT, I'm just gonna give it the same thing. So I'm gonna call it with this, then I'm gonna run it. Looks like I can't even spell amino acid. Maybe just get this thing running quickly. Bam. Boom. Sorry guys, let me just get this thing running quickly. I need to just pretend that guy. Then after that, we'll just debrief on everything that we've done and we'll be fine. Cool. Let me just share with you the screen. Then we'll debrief everything we have done. Cool. Right. So then now I get the same thing that I had, IIX thing. Cool. When you make things divisible by that, the same IIX thing that we called. Let me just then enable my other code just to talk through it again, just to give you a rundown of everything. Cool. So what we just did, we demoed that everything else works the same way that we did if we had taken an account of this, or we haven't like taken an account of it, because of the Python thing allows us to do that. So the question really, as I said, is questionable, but this is at least the first part of everything. You could add more amino acids and all those types of things here if you want. So now I've really enjoyed doing this. I'm hopefully looking forward to do maybe more tutorials with you at some other stage. Yeah, so we will do like a part 2 on how we can be able to read and write from files. It's just that now this thing is now getting a little bit too long because of those technical issues that we had. So, but that was also task 2. So we can just maybe flag this one as task part 1, and then maybe we could do part 2 the next time for files, just picking up from where we are. But let's see. Let's start with you, Juan, with the question of IDEs. This has always been like an almost like a very personal choice to each and every developer or engineer or coder that is out there. The thing about IDEs, as you can see, I use the Python shell that comes with Python installation. I've never seen the need to install anything fancy. But I mean, there are other people who prefer to see things colored nicely. People want everything in the console to be in the same shell. So you run things in the same. You don't have to move between shells. There are other instances where you can do a whole lot of these things. So I think an IDE, maybe just play around and try it out, and then see which one is best for you. I think for me, yeah. OCD. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So yeah, for people like you, then that would be great. That would be great. Maybe things with a black background, maybe white background. You could try PyCharm. When I was still at varsity, I was using the Wing IDE. I found that to be very, very good and useful. It was very user friendly. I think that's the one that UCT students use also. That's what we used in IA at least. So that's the IDE that I used for Python in first year. But I mean, spread your wings, try out many things and see what you like, and then see from there. I wouldn't want to restrict you to anything. As long as you know how to use it, as long as you know how to click run, you should be fine. Yeah, and there's also like a whole ton of online tools there that you can be able to use. Okay, then the other thing around what if there are dictionaries? If you had a list, how could you match 2 of the same elements via count? I'm not sure I understand that question. It doesn't. So are you saying that we could be able to solve? Okay, you posted that. Yeah, I could see, but I'm still trying to see what it is that you were saying. Okay, it looks like GGO. What's GGO? Are we in mass already? What's happening?
Let's go. Coming up.
Okay, cool. What's going on? Juan, what's going on? Please clarify yourself. Anyway, just please type it out and see what happens. So are you saying if we had like, would you be able to use 2 dictionaries and then be able to manipulate the codes from the values, the keys from the values? Is that what you're saying? If you were to solve the problem using two lists? That would be quite painful. I don't think that would even work, because then how would you know what key is mapped to what value in the dictionary? Yeah, that would not work. If it works, then it will be extremely long. And yeah, because like that's the thing. The thing about using dictionaries is that you always want information. Who is mapped to who? who is married to who is with who, that kind of a thing. So, and the thing about lists is that it's just like a collection of just data, right? We don't know who's with who's rolling with who came with who, that kind of a thing. So, with lists, it wouldn't be the most efficient way of doing it. Yeah. So maybe with that, do I have any more questions, or should we just close on that good note? Notwithstanding our challenges that we had with internet, for some reason now that I'm not coding anymore, it's decided to work. Tabang, is it possible to send you something later to show you what I mean? Okay, cool. Yeah. Maybe just send it via your mentor, and then maybe they could just send it to me over our company communications. That should be fine. I don't mind. Yeah. Maybe just send it to your mentor, and then just say, I spoke to Tabang, then you say this is cool. Then yeah, you can just send it. Then they could show it to me, and then I'll respond. I'll respond. No stress. No stress. Anyway, people with OCDs, are we good to go? Should we close? Sean, should we close? Okay, cool. No problem. Anytime. Okay, cool, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. I enjoyed streaming with you. Justin, thank you so much also for listening. And other people that I didn't see there at the top. Jamie, thank you so much also for joining. Yeah. Kwan, you said something funny. Well, what was it when you were saying, haha? What did you say? I forgot. Okay, cool. I'll find it myself. Cool. Yeah. All right, guys. Hopefully, the next time maybe we'll do like part 2 together, and then maybe we'll do more tutorials together on other certain key topics. But anyways, I enjoyed doing this thing. It was meant to be an hour. We just went over by 30 minutes. But I mean, what's 30 minutes if we really love coding? I mean, we could just do this for the whole day, isn't it? Yeah. Yes, we can. So thank you, guys. See you next time when we do part 2 on files. Bye-bye. Coding is life. Yes.